coaching and consulting. I do advise some of the companies. Everything I do is around, the best way I can explain it is around supporting individuals or organizations to be free, to be outside the limitations of constructs and conditioning. And so I kind of say yes to a lot of things. So I'm working on a lot of different levels. I think one of my lessons is learning to say no.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in my life.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. My brother's the CEO of a company that's been around since 1948, 25,000 employees. And he said the hardest part about his job is to say no to things. They do things one way. Always, most of my listeners know he's the CEO of In-N-Out Burger. They do things one way, and they've always done it that way. And to say no is really hard. And I think as humans, we have to understand that sometimes we do have to say no.
Yeah. Yes, I only have so much time.
Well, and saying yes to everything isn't always good either. It might put you in a situation where it's taken away from all that you can be, or what your focus is, or what your mission drive is as well. Yeah. You mentioned human flourishing early. I think oftentimes we get in our own way. How is it that you help get people out of being in their own way and not being willing to flourish, as you suggest?
Well, usually, it's through curious inquiry and asking questions and providing other options. I mean, I think that's part of the problem is that, again, I'm going to go back to conditioning and entrainment. We kind of only have our filters that we've absorbed, from our families and our communities and our experiences, and really working with people to step outside of those to see the bigger picture and to really choose, is this really what you think and what you believe, or is there something else that's possible? And there's many different modalities and techniques to do that, but it is that ability for self-reflection. Mm-hmm. And that ability to say, okay, this is familiar and comfortable, but it's not really serving me. And maybe it did once, but it's not anymore. And so what are my other options? And so I always say to people, when you go to that file in your brain, it's empty because you don't have any other options because this is what you've been doing. And how do we fill that file with new options? And like you said, traveling, I've traveled all over the world, or learning a new skill, not because you want to master it, just because you want to have a different exposure to a different way of doing things, and exposure to people who are doing those things. You start to see things a little differently.
Yeah. Charlie, you mentioned the word authentic. I use that a lot in my business as a consultant and life coach. I think authenticity, especially now more than ever, is so important because we get locked into, we've got our cell phones, and so much on here is not our own realities. And, the document I've got in front of me about you both, it says personal transformation, waking up to your authentic self. How do we do that? How do we come around and figure out who our authentic self is when we're surrounded with so many things that aren't necessarily us?
You can answer this more than I can. Yeah. I think Maureen's better to answer this question than I am. But
how have you done it?
I can say that I got to a point in my life where I realized that I was living based on my own conditioning and what I thought I was supposed to do, and that that wasn't resonating with me anymore. And that was with relationships, and that was just how I was acting in community, and it was creating suffering for me. And I wasn't actually being authentic. I was trying to fit in. I was trying to belong. I was trying to get along. And there came a point in my life when I just said, I don't want that anymore. I don't want to be the person people expect me to be. And so I had the courage and support to make some changes in my life. And my life looks very different now. And a lot of a lot of the transformation for me, at least, was in becoming more authentic. I had to let everything that wasn't authentic go. And what I find is that most of my life before then, I'm no longer interacting with.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happened for me in saying yes is, wow, I became a better father. I met Maureen, who, is my soulmate, or just, we have so much fun together in life. My business skills were able to be used in a way that were both more fun for me and also, could create, change. And so, and then I keep asking that question of myself, what am I not being authentic? And unfortunately, I have a partner that loves me so much that she will, in the moment, we call it the paw will come out and she swat me. And then I'll have to say, oh shit, I'm not being authentic.
Yeah.
So so communities of accountability, I think, are really important for this.
Yes. And I want to just add, that is, when I've worked with so many people, that is one of the biggest challenges, is in order to really step into our authenticity, we do have to let go. We have to let go of beliefs. We have to let go of people. We have to let go sometimes of jobs, sometimes relationships. Not because there's anything wrong. It's just that we can't be our authentic self in those environments or in those relationships. And that's one of the things that tangles people up the most. They want to hold on, and they don't understand that actually, if they let go, something greater will show up. It's really hard for people.
I think that greater that you're talking about starts with inner peace of being who you are, instead of trying to pretend that you're something you're not. It's funny. I laugh at myself all the time. I've been in Montana a couple of years. Even this morning, my mornings start out with what we call muck boots, so I can walk through the mud and the horse poop, and fed the horses and got the chickens out and all these things. And I come back into my comfy little office here, and I just laugh. This wasn't me 2.5 years ago in Newport Beach,
Right.
But it's my authentic self. I'm happier now than I've ever been, and oftentimes we have to get out of our own way. And I just think it's such an important thing. You talk about the movement towards mindfulness, embodiment, consciousness, spirituality, mental health, and most importantly, investing in that. Tell me a little bit about how you take on clients and you encourage them to go down that road.
So at Bridge Builders, we invest in early stage companies that are focused on mental health, on consciousness, on spirituality, and we are pretty picky. I've probably looked at 1,200 companies, 1,500 companies over the last 9 years. We've invested in 15 of them.
Mm-hmm.
We are long-term patient investors who want to see real change in the world, and for these entrepreneurs to be supported so that they can scale their products or services or apps or whatever their company is doing. And we tend to get very involved to support those who take our capital. We get involved in many different ways to support them, and as well, I think we're a little different than some pure venture capital type firms, in that we're really promoting the entire field. We're really passionate about this movement or industry growing. So it's not just what we do with our companies. We help the field, in other ways as well. So, that we just are kind of ignited by supporting entrepreneurs to accomplish their goals.
Yeah, I see a lot of investment opportunities come my way, especially since I'm on the computer so much now. When people come to you, are they aware of kind of this added value that you bring to the table, not just money, and they have an expectation that you're going to help them in the world that we've been talking about here? Or is it a pleasant surprise when you start talking about some of your other fulfillments of the investment opportunity?
I think what's a pleasant surprise for people is that there are people that actually care that we're not just there to make money, that we really support this field. I think most people, they come to us because they know about us, because we've developed a brand over the last 9 years where the proof is in the pudding. Like the best thing that I can hear one of our potential CEOs say is, well, can I talk to your other CEOs, before you make the investment? And then I pretty much know we're going to be able to invest in the company because we actually do what we say we do.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do it perfectly, but we're ignited to support these companies. And I think for entrepreneurs in our space to know that there's someone that cares, that has shown that they care, and where the sort of energy of the capital is aligned with the energy of the business, that's for many people, that's it's sort of a dream come true.
Yeah.
And
Please.
I want to add that we're really supportive. We'll go through founder changes and pivots and all of that. But in the vetting, we really look at the entrepreneur and the team to see if they're really transformative and committed to consciousness, because the product is good, but the team has to also be doing this deeper dive. And I think that's significant.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, it ends up that they want more than just money from bridge builders.
Mm-hmm.
They want the expertise and the support. And Charlie doesn't say this much, but he's hugely connected. So lots of connections to help grow the business.
Yeah, which is great. It reinforces something I tell most of my business clients that are seeking money, that you don't want just money. You want a partner. You want something that's going to add that extra value. And most often that's more important than the money itself. Money can come pretty easily sometimes, depending on what segment you're in. But these things that you're talking about, the value that you add, and then connections on top of that, is so much more substantial than just getting some money. Yeah. So, a little bit about the industry and people that you invest in. Can you talk about, what you're looking for, or what the ideal partnership or investment looks like?
Yeah, I guess I can talk. I can talk about what we're looking for. What we're looking for are scalable businesses run by integrated entrepreneurs that have a point of difference where we can say, if this is successful, the world will change to a certain. We sort of know what the change would be in the world if they're successful, and where we think it's a good investment, where we can generate a good return on capital, and where as well, if we do well, then the entrepreneur will do well also.
Mm-hmm.
We've invested in companies. Just to talk a little bit about some of the changes that we have made in the world. We've invested in several mindfulness companies, and we can point to 100 million people who are meditating now that weren't meditating when we started 9 years ago. Plus, people thought meditation was crazy, or a lot of people did 9 years ago. We've invested in digital therapeutics companies like Pear Therapeutics and Happify, which are having drugs that are actually software versus chemicals,
mm-hmm.
and that 3 of the first FDA software approvals were from our companies. So we've invested in companies like Headspace and Insight Timer as well, that are meditation companies, and it's been really fun. We've invested in 15 companies. They're all still operating, which is remarkable. And some have grown to be really significantly changing because of it.
Yeah. I want to wrap with some of these thoughts. Maureen, I was just looking at some notes on you. There's something that talks about neuro reset therapy. Can you tell me what that is and what that looks like?
Yeah. So quantum neuro reset therapy is a modality. There's probably about 80 of us in the world certified in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really efficient and effective way to balance the brain and clear the emotional pathways of trauma, adverse experience, negative patterns, inflammatory markers, allergies, etc., using a specific protocol to